Block Island's southeast light is found just off the coast of Rhode Island. Built in 1875, this tower is only 52 feet tall. I mean, contrast that with the Oak Island light in our last episode. That stood at nearly 170 feet. So this lighthouse, this might seem rather insignificant. And yet, this light is just as visible to offshore mariners as the one in Oak Island. Both can be seen for nearly 25 nautical miles. How is that possible? How can a light only 52 feet tall be seen at the same distance as one nearly 170 feet? The answer to that, surprisingly, is identical to something Jesus included in his teaching about us being lights to the world. For this episode, we travel again. Only rather than the sandy shores of the mid-Atlantic, we're going to head into the rocky coastlines of the New England region, where some of the most picturesque and historical lighthouses still stand today. Now remember, we're using lighthouses as a modern illustration of understanding Matthew 5. Jesus makes the declaration that we are the light of the world, and we want to make sure that we understand his teaching completely. The lighthouse we want to visit is actually in Rhode Island. Before heading there, however, we want to stop on a different, more well-known island, Manhattan. Specifically, I want to pause at Pier 66 on the Hudson River to simply cement something from the last episode. While at Cape Fear, we said that they had attempted to use a lightship off the Frying Pan Shoals for a season, but it wasn't effective. The vessel would drift in harsh storms and really strong currents. So, because it was on the way, I decided this is worth the stop. I want you to see this. This is the actual lightship Frying Pan that we spoke of in episode 2 that was moored off of Cape Fear from 1930 to 1965. After being decommissioned, it eventually ended up here in New York, where a private buyer restored it and converted it into a restaurant of all things. A far cry from serving its original purpose. Recall that we said that the problem with these lightships were that in the fiercest of storms, their anchors would often give way, and then they would just drift. I mean, a warning beacon is absolutely useless if it simply moves with all the surrounding currents, because it can no longer point out all the dangers that it's intended to illuminate, or conversely, the harbors that it's meant to guide one into. And we said that Christians today are in danger of this, as we allow the cultural currents around us to shift God's definition of truth or the standard of his word. In this instance, this image is one that helps us understand Jesus' warning. This ship was an attempt at a solution, but it couldn't hold its mark. So what is it good for? Well, apparently today, nothing more than a restaurant. So Jesus asked, what good is salt if it loses its qualities? And conversely, we can ask, well, what good's a light if it drifts? We cease to be a light to the world if we are no longer holding the line for God. And if that's the case, well then, what good are we?